Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We are also live on the PLZ Soccer app. You can download it in Google Play and in the App Store. It'll keep you up to date with all the breaking stories across the UK and beyond. But watching the football show live on your phone has to be a huge bonus. It would be a bonus for Ruffy if he hadn't got rid of his 3310 Nokia. But once you get up to date, Ruffy, you'll be able to watch it on one of these modern phones.
I'm sure all my pals that I play golf will be over the moon with that. You know, they're always talking about how they can see it and they're all chatting amongst each other. But now it's live, you know, they can see it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And one person, I can't remember his name, which is just annoying the life out of me, sent us a picture through the app saying basically that he trains in his gym in Edmonton in Canada, and he's got the PLZ Soccer Show on his screen in front of the gym, so that's magnificent.
Away from the fridge.
I was going to say, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Ali. Yeah, so there you are. There you are. Just shows you everybody's watching the programme in various formats now, moving with the times. So we'll read out some of your messages as well. Anything that you want to talk about, we're more than happy to do that. Hi to David Bradley, Tommy Smith, Greg McVeigh as well is in Glenrothes. We haven't had anybody from Glenrothes, have we, Ruffy?
No.
Glenrothes is not quite as far as Vietnam, but I'm quite happy with it. Hi to Brian C, Mark Fairfield, Andrew Davidson as well. Good to have you guys. Lee Shanley, Bob Miller, lots of people wanting to talk to us and say hello. And Shane, who's in Abu Dhabi, doesn't get any better than that. Hot weather. All year round, absolutely magnificent. And hi to Paul Baird as well. So there's lots of people joining us, and we thank you for joining the football family. If you get a chance, share the programme with your pals and let them know, and they can hit the subscribe button and join us. Lots to talk about. One new face for St Mirren as far as being a manager, but he's a well-kent face for everyone else. It's Stephen Robinson. He's back in Scottish football as the manager of St Mirren, Ruffy.
Yes, he certainly is. You know that. I was surprised a wee bit when they left Motherwell. You know, I know they weren't doing particularly well, but I thought, you know, the success he'd had there, he did a couple of cup finals, didn't he, and a couple of semi-finals.
Yeah, I think he'd maybe thought he'd taken them as far as he could go with the resources.
And obviously everybody wants to go down to England, so he's fancied his chances, maybe using Morecambe as a step up a couple of divisions, but it hasn't obviously happened. But I think now that certain clubs like the St Mirrens and the Motherwell, these fan-based clubs, are now looking at a manager that will buy into the way they're thinking. You know, obviously it happens at Motherwell. You know, obviously it's different. A fan-based club, they've got different ideas, and sometimes you need a manager who's going to buy into what you're doing. And St Mirren are one of the clubs. They've just become one of the fan-based clubs. Yeah,
well, he comes back knowing that the Saints really wanted him because of their willingness, in Robinson's eyes, to pay compensation.
St Mirren made a big play to get me, agreed compensation, and wanted to speak to me. And, you know, I think you have to take that as a massive compliment. You know, they put their intentions very clear, and, you know, I didn't take the decision lightly. It was, you know, with a heavy heart that I do leave, because a lot of good people there. The people of the town were very good to me as well. But when I spoke to Jim and he told me the ambitions, the setup, you know, the training facilities and what they're trying to improve with it, then it was really exciting opportunity that it was very, very difficult for me to turn down.
It's quite unusual seeing him with that St Mirren badge on his tracksuit top there, but he's back, and I think St Mirren fans will maybe be surprised because there was a few other names in the mix, and then suddenly he emerged out of left field.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Scott Brown and Stephen Naismith were mentioned fairly prominently, and then over the last 48 hours or so, Stephen Robinson's name came into it. I think he's there because he understands the landscape of the Scottish top flight. He can work within the financial parameters of the club. I think he's fairly ambitious as a coach. As Ruffy said, I think he has had a decent track record at Motherwell. I think his record at Morecambe has maybe been quite inauspicious since the turn of the year. I think he's maybe quite happy to get a move elsewhere. It may be a good time for him to go, and he'll see it as a fresh challenge. I think Jim Goodwin has performed to such a level over the last few weeks that he leaves him in a very good place. I think it's just that it doesn't need major surgery. You're not going in to try and turn the tide and save them from relegation, but rather to build on existing foundations.
Yeah. As far as their ambitions, Stephen Robinson, I think, has got ambitions for St Mirren, which I think will please the supporters.
Yeah, it's very tight. I think it says how competitive the league is now. And there'll be a lot of people in the same position as ourselves thinking, can we scrape into that top four? So it's all to play for. We've got a tough run in, but one that we're more than capable of getting points from and continuing, as I repeat, the good work that's been done.
Yeah, St Mirren get top four, that would be fantastic.
I think it'd be incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Ruffy's way of saying, let's boot that thought right out into left field.
Should have went the whole hog and went third, and really got the fans on
well,
board.
he should have done a Georgios Giacomakis and said, I think we're going to win this league.
Annoyed everybody with that. I just don't.
Yeah.
Well, I will probably talk about that later on, but I think when you're a manager and you go in there, you've got to say all the right things, and certainly that is the right thing to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, they've got a match against Dundee up at Dens Park tomorrow, so I think if he starts off with a win there, although it's amazing how the whole thing is taking a real twist as you go into this final quarter, Ali, because you've got Dundee with a new manager, you've got St Johnstone with practically a new team who are suddenly turning things around as well. This is becoming a really tense battle for St Mirren. Their ambitions are completely different now that Jim Goodwin's gone away, but he's at Aberdeen trying to get them somewhere near, fourth. I think third's well out of Aberdeen's reach, but they're all making changes at clubs to try and alter their fortunes.
Yeah, I think it reflects the fear sometimes too among clubs, about the finances that determine where you finish, what positions you get. European football, if you finish third or fourth, can make a huge difference to what your transfer budget is come the summer. Similarly, at the bottom end of the table, I think there's a real fear that if you drop down a league, what the ramifications are for you that way financially. So I think you do see chairmen getting anxious and a bit jittery when you get to this stage of the campaign. I think St Johnstone had a huge result at the weekend. It just will lift the team and lift the support, I think, going into the final quarter. But you're right, I think you see changes because people know what's at stake.
Yeah, I mean, this game is intriguing because it's Dundee against St Mirren. A St Mirren side unbeaten in 8 matches, Ruffy. I mean, they've got a bit of form. Dundee obviously had a good performance at the weekend, although they lost out narrowly to Celtic.
Yeah, they'll be encouraged by it. I mean, Mark tried to talk it up a wee bit after it. There was a lot of pleasing things that he saw, and certainly at 2 each, it would have been a magnificent result to take back, but it never happened. It was another defeat. So I think everybody will be interested to see how he's going to dig himself out of this mess. What players he's going to put in there. I see he left out Zach Rudden the weekend. Maybe he just felt that wasn't the right game for him. But it'll be interesting to see what he's doing. But they need to win games.
Yeah.
They can't go on the run that they're on, particularly with St Johnstone picking up points.
Yeah, this is in the predictor, Ruffy. So Dundee against St Mirren. What are you going to go for this one?
I keep looking at Dundee and I keep seeing a lot of good things, and I'm frightened to stick my neck out and say I win because it'll cost me points. When you're at the top of the league now, you've got to sort of watch, what these predictions. I'll probably wait and see what Ali's done and then and play safe.
So, what's your prediction?
I'm going to stick my neck out and a draw.
I think 1-1 myself, Ali. What are you going for?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to reveal. It's just so tight at the top.
Yeah, how do you feel now, Mrs. Smug? You're off the top of the
It's
table.
a long way
We told
to
you we
go.
would
There's
reel you
a
in.
long way to go. 2 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's not have your Giacomakis over there.
I was going to say to you, Ruffy. I mean, we've had a look at let's have a look at the Premiership table as well, just to see exactly how it all pans out. How Dundee desperately need, the points as well, because they have got to try and utilise that game in hand to leapfrog St Johnstone. And St Mirren, well, their ambitions are trying to push top 6 and beyond. And if they can get a win, they'll go up over Motherwell and Dundee United and Hibernian. So it just shows you how that can just catapult you up the table, a win.
Yeah, well, it's the same in all the division. Draws are no good to you. Draws just give you a wee bit of confidence, that you're not getting beat.
Yeah.
But it's the 3 points that make the difference in the league, and back-to-back wins, and you saw like a couple of the teams in there that you'd look at them going, wait a minute, they were third bottom a couple of weeks ago, and look, they're in the top 6 now. So 6 points is massive the way this league is going.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to be really careful. Let's have a look at the predictor table now, because this one's on the cards. And Ruffy, you've taken the lead. You're now at 238. Alison's on 236. She was ahead for such a long time in the race. You know, I think I might call Alison West Ham from the 80s when Macca thought they were going to win the league, and then all of a sudden they just get caught by Liverpool. Peter Martin, I've had a bad couple of weeks, Ruffy. I need another 21 pointer. I'm at 222. And then it's Tam McManus in 219, Hugh in 218, and then Tam, who's just
Tam the grass.
Tam's just
Tam the grass taking 5 points off Ali.
Yeah, absolutely.
Immediately.
Yeah, I'm glad Tam was well on you, by the way. There's a wee bit of jiggery pokery going on with the person who's in charge of VAR and the predictor table in Cheryl. But you're second. Are you still confident?
I'm still confident, Peter.
Yeah.
I always trust my own ability.
Well, on that note, I may as well read out some of the messages for you. Ruffy Sharpie, who sometimes makes some very good points, and then sometimes I think Sharpie has a couple of days when he's clearly unhinged. But he's.
Which one are we on today?
We're on not bad today for Sharpie, to be honest with you. He says Alison's smiling is maybe because Celtic are top of the league for 10 minutes. so there you are. Sharpie's on your case. And Paul Brady says, good to see Alison out of the witness protection scheme after last week's column, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, your column last week, Ali, it created a bit of a stir, even with the player's agent. But at the end of the day, I don't think sometimes people need to read beyond the headline, dare I say it.
Well, there's that. I think Twitter itself is an echo chamber at times where people don't read the context.
An echo chamber for inaccuracy?
I think people don't read the context, and I think an opinion is just that. It's you take some of the evidence in front of you and you draw a conclusion on it and you present your own thoughts, and the danger with an opinion is that you can be left with egg on your face, which is the risk you take when you offer an opinion and it could go the other way. And I think you do put yourself at risk of that. Putting yourself at risk of some of the abuse that we took, I think is just silly. I think it's pretty appalling actually for something. I think we can all have an opinion and have a different opinion without falling out about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you could actually follow the Tam McManus format on social media, which is have an opinion and then run and hide in a dark room and don't speak to anybody.
To be fair, that's pretty much what
I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, you just give out your opinion, and then if some people are abusive, unless it becomes seriously abusive, you just ignore some of it. I mean, I must admit, I found it a bit rich coming from the agent suddenly steaming in there, but I have a feeling that he was put up to it, put it that way. Anyway, apart from anything else, Aaron Ramsey's got to play football, and that's the point Ali was making, and it's a big gamble if he doesn't play.
Yeah, it's a fair point, when the Rangers, when it was put out there he was coming, I'm sure not every Rangers supporter to a man thought he was going to be in the first team. And I don't think for a minute anybody thought we would be waiting this long for him to see him doing 90 minutes. Everybody took it for granted he was a fit guy, although he hadn't played a lot of games, but they would like to have seen him on the park sooner rather than later, and it's not happened. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, thanks to everyone who's really not who's not too complimentary about my top. That's what I love about this show, Ruffy. It's a bit, I've been called Kim Jong-il on here. Somebody's got me as a member of the Green Brigade. You can't win, can you? Yeah. See, when I wear blue, nobody mentions it. See, if you wear green, the whole country seems to steam in on you. Anyway, apart from anything else, I can take it, Ruffy, because the great thing about it is, if you're going to get abuse, if you give it out, you must be able to take it in. I mean, I'm not looking at Ali when I'm saying that, but if you fire it out there, but the great thing about myself, as you well know, is there's a Death Star shield around me. You're just not going to penetrate it. Not with. I mean, I've come from such a big family. It's a hard.
I would have thought after 20 years it began to crack. Some cracks. Some stuff would get through.
No, it doesn't get through. It doesn't get through. You just keep leathering them. It's as simple as that. Anyway, thank you for the caning that I'm taking on there. But that's what the great joy of this is. Anyway, from the predictor table, the cost of VAR is rising. This is another point that caught my eye today. I think, isn't it amazing that if Celtic or Rangers suddenly don't get the result they're looking for, there needs to be a full investigation, there needs to be a real push for VAR, and then suddenly a story emerges that could be spiralling out of control. from 60,000 for each club to 100,000 that they might have to pay for it. Now, they're going to vote at the end of April on VAR. We need to get it. They'll need to find the money from somewhere, and they've all probably sat down, and they will have to sit down and say, okay, how are we going to divvy this up to make it happen?
I don't think 100 grand, if it comes to that per club, is overly expensive for VAR. When you look at the decisions that it can correct and the right calls, when there is such intensity for places and finishes, whether that be winning the league or even finishing and getting a European place or avoiding relegation at the other side of the table, I think it's a small price to pay for getting it as accurate as you possibly can. And I think by far it's a proper investment that brings you into line with modern football practice.
Yeah, listen, I think they have to find the money from somewhere. I don't think you can go another year with it. And as Malky Mackay pointed out at the weekend when I was at Hibs against Ross County, VAR in England is not the definitive answer as in it's going to solve all the problems. It is a percentage reduction in mistakes.
Mm-hmm. But it's getting the big ones right. They're getting the big one, the really big ones right. And every manager now is bumping their gums about it now. So my idea of how you would finance it would be at the end of the season when you divvy all their money up, where they are in the league and everything, just say take it off of that. Mm-hmm. Just take it off of that.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact amounts the top gets and the second gets and the third, all the way down, and stagger it accordingly, and that's how you pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, which would be far easier, Ali, I mean, it's quite radical to suggest this, if suddenly they manage to get someone who takes over the control of the SPFL, and then they all agree, and that person goes out and gets extra sponsorship and more money for each game from the satellite companies because they're all in agreement with each other, that would be radical, wouldn't it? Can you imagine they attracted more than one main sponsor, and then that would pay for it?
I think that's absolutely the sensible way to go, that you maximise the revenue that you bring in, that you help finance it. But I think until you get to that point, I think you need to organise it quickly. It's not something you're going to be able to do overnight. I think you have to start putting the wheels in motion. I absolutely take your point. I don't think the league sells itself well enough. I don't think it sells its product well enough. I think it could attract much more in the way of sponsorship. And I say that while appreciating it's a very competitive and difficult market that you're in, given the finances and the restricted finances and the parameters with which you work. But I do think that you would like to optimise your product and sell it as best you can. Yeah, absolutely. We have, and I don't know how we get round it, Ruffy. We have a tainted product just basically because of all your squabbling directors. All of them. I mean, I think a lot of them. Well, it's a long-term problem. I'd love to. I think we'd need to dedicate a show with getting, the team together and sit and have a real banter about it. But we should be looking to make radical changes, not only to try and get the VAR in, but to get a situation where someone is in charge to try and create a better image of our game in Scotland. We just look at a team of idiot men backstabbing each other.
That's the way it is.
With the odd chief executive woman thrown in for good measure.
Yeah, but that's the way it is, and the reason the way it is because everybody's looking after themselves. Yeah, that's basically it. You need somebody to come in and first of all change the voting rules, the way we move things on, and people who, kibosh certain ideas through self-interest. Yeah. And that's the first thing, and I really keep saying that the money should be distributed a lot better than what it is, because Scottish football is about all the leagues, not just the top league. And if you keep getting the money to all the top league, then the bottom leagues aren't going to compete at any level at all. And everybody, when things go bad, the top teams say, "Oh well, there's nobody, we can't compete against anybody." Yeah. And the reason you can't compete against anybody is because you take the best players. And you have the most money, so try and make it a wee bit more. What's the word?
Appealing.
That's a word I was looking for. I like that word better.
Equitable.
Yes. Yeah. And then we might get something. I'll not solve anything, but it might be a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been banging on about it for long enough, but I think the return from the SPFL and the sponsorship that they have is way short of where it should be, and we should have a stronger product with. I do take Stuart Robertson's point. I think the game should have been sold for more money, but again, that goes back to the fact that we backstabbed one television company to go for another that folded. You couldn't make it up, Ali, could you?
Yeah, I think historically there have been poor decisions made, and I think when that happens, I think it takes you a while to recover that ground. I think I would agree. I think the whole product has been undersold at times. I think there are attractive propositions, there are attractive games in Scottish football. I think that's reflected in crowd attendances. I think some of the attendances, when you see per head across European football what Scottish football attracts, and some of the games maybe aren't on a par with the top flight in England in terms of the technical football that you're seeing, but for sheer entertainment and value, I think it can hold its own.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly holds its own for the back pages, for the lunacy that goes on. As far as the papers, there's a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Rangers against Borussia Dortmund. Big game coming up. A little story that caught my eye today, Ruffy. Another 4 million shares have been issued in Rangers Holding Company at a cost of £1 million. This is the second time they put that share issue out there for people to buy the shares. Of course, getting into the Champions League will solve a lot of problems, but they've had 9 years of losses, Rangers. As long as somebody keeps putting the money in there and they keep selling these shares, I mean, they've been diluted quite a bit, but at the end of the day, as long as they keep putting the money in there until you roll the dice to see if you can get that 30-40 million, which is available for Scottish clubs getting into the Champions League group stages.
Yeah, I mean, that's only time that it raises its ugly head, was when you're not doing well on the park, because not everybody's interested in the shares. You're just quite happy to have them at a club, and say, oh, I've got shares.
Yeah.
That if you're losing money on them at the end of the day, then so be it. But if your team's playing well, you've got a good product on the park, you're getting into European games, you're enjoying your football, then nobody talks about it. It's when you're not winning the games, you're not getting the targets that you're setting, then people start asking questions.
Yeah, and it's such a big week, Ali, because of the Europa Conference and the Europa League, because the implication is if you get through to the next round, it's another couple of games. Okay, it brings its own revenue, but the stakes are high this year for whoever wins the league could go straight into the Champions League group stages and the riches that it brings, and then the other team has to play a qualifier. Yeah,
I actually think when the penny drops with that and just how vital those finances are, I think this season's league title is every bit, if not more important than last year's. Obviously, last year's was weighted for emotional reasons, like Celtic wanting to win a 10th, Rangers desperate to stop it for all the reasons that go with it. But this year, given the finances and the likelihood of it being an aberration, it won't be repeated the following year. It's probably a one-off, and you see how difficult it is to negotiate those rounds and how increasingly difficult it is when you see the chasm between where everyone is financially.
Well, you think it might be tough to get? I read the article yesterday just basically saying, well, we're 9th at the moment, and if we can sustain good coefficient points, I think it's Red Star Belgrade that are in there as well, and the coefficient, if it continues the way it's going at the moment, we keep picking up points. If we can stay within the top 10, then we might be getting a team into the group stages of the Champions League for the next 3 seasons. But there are so many permutations.
There are huge permutations, and obviously if you go in and you have a poor campaign, then obviously that has a very adverse effect on the coefficient in terms of the points and how it gets divided and worked out in an average, because you go, I think it's all teams who play from your country, the points get divided. So if you have 4 or 5 representatives in Europe, the total points tally is then divided by how many teams were in it. It's quite a complex thing to work out. So I think it would be difficult to look too far ahead just now until you really know what results you're going to have over the course of the summer months and then get into the competition. But certainly for the next campaign, and it does look as though Scotland will have an automatic entry. Now, it could still go wrong. You could still have a disaster if things, if whoever wins the Champions League this year doesn't qualify automatically by virtue of their league position, then you could still face a qualifier. But I think it's huge. I think if you're talking about going straight into the group stage of the Champions League with the finances that gives you, and the ability to really invest in your squad. It's massive for whoever wins it.
Yeah, I think on that basis, Ruffy, that's why I always hope that an Aberdeen, a Hibs, a Hearts, whoever's up that top end of the table, could somehow engineer a group stage in in the Europa League or the Conference League.
Yeah, as Ali said there, the more the merrier. The more that are in there and the more that are successful, it's great for everybody. We haven't had that, and you would like to think that there will be a year when one of them would get their act together and invest in the quality player that would take them into a group stage.
Yeah.
Key is, though, that if you have a representative in, that they do well, because if you have 4 or 5 representatives in who all go out at the first stage, then it actually negatively impacts your coefficient. So the teams that are guaranteed some form of European football, you're desperate then to see that they make an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. There are 2 slots available, Ali, but one of them might have to play a qualifier. So in the Champions League anyway, that's what's facing the Celtic or Rangers on this. It'd be great for the both of them to make the group stages, because that really increases the interest. I mean, I can remember, flying from one country to the next.
And Aberdeen also were in the group stages of the...
Well, they got the playoff against, they get the knockout one against Bayern Munich.
That's right, but I think it'd be fantastic for the profile of Scottish football to have 2 Scottish teams in and competing, and then I think obviously too, the knock-on effect is that you see the quality increase in terms of the player that you're able to attract and the player that you're able to afford to bring them in. Because I think people often dismiss or maybe aren't quite ready to take on board. I think Celtic and Rangers are probably still quite a hard sell at times to bring players in who are maybe coming from south of the border, and you can't compete with some of the finances and salary that's on offer. I think if you have the carrot of European football and Champions League football, I think it takes it on to another level.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that in mind, Erling Haaland apart, I mean, I think Hughes said at times Dortmund sometimes can be a Jekyll and Hyde side. You're thinking to yourself, they're at it. Beat Borussia Mönchengladbach by 6-0. Now we're waiting to see if Erling Haaland is going to be in Glasgow, unleashed on Rangers, and whether that's going to make any real fundamental difference to the overall outcome of this game. Rangers have a 4-2 advantage. There's no away goal situation here. It's just, I think if Rangers get another goal, it kills off Dortmund.
Yeah, I was impressed with Rangers last year. It's okay saying, Dortmund had an off night, but I thought Rangers were absolutely superb, and if they put in that level of performance this week, I don't care what Dortmund put on the park, they should be good enough to see out that tie. Dortmund have really cranked it up a bit, in the papers, and saying that it was a one-off, that we can easily go there and win whatever. You've got to do that to build your confidence up.
But Ruffy, realistically, I mean, I think everybody should give credit to Rangers for the result, because I thought they were magnificent, and I don't buy into everybody going, Borussia Dortmund had an off day. But if Borussia Dortmund are at it, and you consider the level that Bundesliga is operating at and what we have here in Scotland, if they really are at it, Rangers will be under the cosh, because it's a stronger league. They've got better players. They've spent way more than Rangers. That's why the Rangers result in the first one was such a great result, because I think a lot of people were shocked that they'd been able to batter Borussia Dortmund in their own backyard. So, but if they're at it, this could be one of those bite your nails nights for Rangers fans.
Well, it'd only be a bite your nails night if they were to score first, and then obviously you're a wee bit anxious. But in the evidence of last week, I think this team will concede. And if the Rangers put in the form that they did in Dortmund, I think they can do it. Not the weekend against Dundee United. So the game's still out there, but Rangers have got everything in their favour.
Yeah.
One goal for me would be enough, and I don't think that defence can get a clean sheet.
Yeah, after a 6-0 win over Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Let me say that I don't think they'll get a clean sheet against Rangers at Ibrox.
No, I agree with you. I think Rangers could sneak one and go through, Ali. I've got that feeling that there's such a lift in the way they played, and Dortmund are going to have to come out. I think that's what's giving me that feeling that Rangers can win this one. Yeah,
I think Dortmund need a goal, so you know how they're going to play. They desperately need an early goal just to upset the equilibrium, to make the crowd antsy, to try and plant any seeds of doubt. So I think you know how they're going to start the game. I do think whether or not Haaland's available does make a difference. I think if you hear in the build up to the game that he's starting, then they get a boost, and there's maybe an edginess.
He is a machine
within the crowd. He's extraordinary. He's an extraordinary talent. The only question you would have if he does start is whether or not he's properly fit. Or not, but
he could star in Terminator 3. I mean, doesn't he? He just looks as if he's a robot. He's unbelievable.
He's very much a modern specimen of a footballer. He's a proper athlete. I think you look at him, just streamlined and probably done all the right things.
Jam yourself.
A bit like ourselves. But no, I think so much will depend on the first 15-20 minutes. I think if Dortmund get a goal back, it's a very different game. I think if Rangers get to half time and they're still the tie's still in their favour at 4-2, I think you see them going on. But I think the one thing you can guarantee is goals, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see this one being 0-0. So, just out of curiosity, Raphael, before we get on to Bodo Glimt versus Celtic, couple of wee things to do with the Champions League. I was looking, there was a little post that one of our journalists posted, which is, you know how they do the on this day? Mm-hmm. Well, on this day in 2006, Rangers got a 2-2 draw against Villarreal. I'm going to read out the team, and then you tell me if you think the team that I'm going to read out from 2006 would defeat the team that Rangers have at the moment, who are going to take on Borussia Dortmund. Okay, the only thing missing from this question, Robbie, is a pint of lager and a wee chaser of a Southern Comfort lemonade and a pub full of your mates, if that's fair. You can think about this as well, Ali, and I want your thoughts on it. The Rangers team is Vateris in goal. In no particular order, the team is Ferguson, Hemdani, Prusho, Kyriakos, Julian Rodriguez, Chris Burke, Alan Hutton, Peter Lovenkrands, Hamid Namucci and Stephen Smith. So there's the Rangers side from 2006, and it's taking on the Rangers side of today. Who wins that?
I'd go with the Rangers side of today.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, for what reason?
Player for player, I think they're better this time.
Yeah? Morelos better than Prusho?
No, not individually, I mean collectively.
All right, okay.
They're 11, not singling them all at one.
So you go for this one?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Yeah?
I think they play European football. I think they play particularly well in Europe, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good argument, isn't it? I would go with 2006.
I would go
and
for
by the way,
2006.
that 2006 side I've read out, Ali, isn't even the strongest side from that era.
I was actually thinking.
I think there's a few injuries.
There's a few faces out of that one, but no, I think the 2006 team has more quality in it.
Yeah, Ferguson, fantastic.
Yeah.
Lovenkrands as well.
Prusho.
Listen, Dado Prusho was a good player as well. Listen, it's a good pub argument. Just thought I'd throw it in there. Do you think the Champions League final should be moved from St Petersburg, Ruffy?
It's just because of the carry on that's going on over there. Yeah, I think if it escalates, I think most definitely. I think there's a more important one before that. Should the Scotland-Ukraine game go on?
Yeah.
And what are they going to do with that? Somebody's not mentioned that at all. So that'll be an interesting one as well.
Yeah, I think the other great thing about it, I'm sure right now, I don't know if she is or not, I'll contact her because I have spoken to her before, but I don't know if Naga Minchetti feels as if her BBC job reading the news is under real pressure now, as Ruffy describes the Russia-Ukraine as this wee carry-on that's going on.
If it happens.
It's a Newsnight debut.
Ruffy, now let's talk about the wee carry-on that's going over in Russia. Brilliant, Ruffy. You just
on edge.
absolutely brilliant, Ruffy. Just the way
my world on edge is in my daughter's boiler.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ruffy's peeved. Ruffy's peeved because he has to pay for his daughter's boiler. I mean, I don't know about you, Ali, but that's what having
My
kids is
boiler's
all
working.
about. Yeah, exactly. You take your team, you got your cover for it. So just take the hit, Ruffy. It's your daughter. It's as simple as that. Anyway, so the point I was making, is I think a lot of the politics and sport, they do mix. There's no getting away from it. We wouldn't like it to mix, but it does. I think a lot of people are actually, even the MPs in Parliament are saying, they shouldn't have the Champions League final, and not for the foreseeable future if this escalates the trouble over there at the borders of Ukraine.
I would agree completely.
Yeah.
I do think that it should be removed, and I don't think there's any sense in waiting because these things aren't particularly easy to organise. There's a lot of red tape and a lot of paperwork to be done. I think you make the moves now. You don't sit and wait for it to get any worse.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you on that. Bodo Glimt against Celtic. I wonder, ahead of this, do you think Ange Postecoglou has said to Georgios Giacomakis, is there any chance I can have a word with you? Just here's how you handle press conferences. It's not saying we're going to win the league.
No, but that's what foreign players coming in here, you know, they just like we spoke about it early on, appeasing the fans, getting the fans on board. I'm sure before the hat-trick at the weekend, it wasn't the flavour of the month with Celtic fans. They were still thinking about, oh, what have we bought here? You know, what have we got? And all of a sudden, the guy scores 3 goals. He's every right to, you know, come into a media and answer questions. Yeah, it's not the right one, but I think we're blowing it out of proportion a wee bit. Really, I do, because he's just saying what he feels.
Yeah, I like that, Ali. I mean, I've heard some pundits say it's disrespectful. Is it? That's a lot of nonsense.
I don't think it's disrespectful. I'm going to speak as a journalist. I think we love an opinion.
Oof.
We love someone with a bit of personality, someone that comes in.
I thought Hugh McDonald was going to spontaneously combust yesterday. It was so much fun reading the line out.
Absolutely, it's you know, we've all enjoyed it. Everyone enjoys it. Opposition fans enjoy it. Everyone enjoys it. It's an opinion. That's all it is. It's not set in stone, and it might not be in full mode with what the public perception is of a very humble dressing room in this argument. Oh, it's one game at a time, and you have a very bland outlook, take it game by game. I think you welcome something that's a bit different, someone that brings a bit of colour to it, a bit of personality to it. I would never criticise it. Yeah,
he's made the statement. Whether it's pinned up as a bit of newspaper on the Rangers dressing room, who knows? It just depends on how good your team is, if you can win the league, and whether Giacomakis can back that up with his teammates all the way to the end of the season. They've got a 3-point advantage. They go into this game against Bodo Glimt trailing 3-1, and I don't hold out much hope for Celtic overturning this, although they're well capable of scoring, Ruffy.
Yeah, they are. They've proved it in Europe. They can go away from home and score goals. They're never backs to the wall. It's always, you know, taking as much as they can get. But I'm only going again with the evidence of last week and the evidence of the weekend. I just think they've went off the boil a wee bit just now. I think since the manager's come in, he's taken everybody surprised the way that Celtic play. They like to get the ball wide, everything sharp. I think teams are now beginning to analyse, you know, that their strengths and weaknesses and combating it a wee bit. Dundee did it the weekend. They stopped the balls coming in for the wide areas, apart from the goal at the end, and probably the first one. But I mean, good teams can stop that, and that team last week did it. They went about their job properly. There was no evidence last week that I think Celtic can turn this round.
Yeah. Ali, do you hold out any great hope?
Not huge. I think I would agree with Ruffy. I think on the evidence of what you saw, you fully expect Bodo to go through. I think Celtic are very vulnerable again at set pieces. I think the last 4 league goals they've lost have all come from set pieces. I think they'll score, but I just don't know that you would trust them entirely to keep it tight at the back. Again, I think it maybe comes down to what happens in the opening quarter, the opening 20 minutes of the game. If they get a goal back, then all of a sudden you can maybe scent a weakness and feel as though you're going to flip the tie. But I think the odds would be heavily stacked against them. I wouldn't anticipate it.
No, absolutely. Okay, Bolly Bolingoli, he's left Celtic, loan to a Russian side. I mean, I was just about to say, I mean, I noticed somebody saying to us there, stick to football, don't talk about politics. Sometimes it's linked so much that you have to talk about it. But I'm looking here and I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's had a misdemeanor, Bolingoli, but is there a real need to send him to Russia?
I think the only surprise is maybe how long it's taken to get a loan move out. I think many of us would have anticipated it in the summer window and then definitely in the January window, but I don't think there's any real surprise. And I think when you look at Celtic's squad just now, it's still quite bloated. I think there could be you could have expected a few more in January to go out. Yeah, absolutely. I think financial situation and COVID and everything has taken its toll on clubs actually starting to, buy players. But the writing was on the wall for both Bolingoli and Griffiths. It's just taken a little longer. You knew that the club were waiting and thinking, okay, how do we handle this legally? But their careers are over. Yeah, certainly their Celtic careers are over, and I think sometimes there are last chances, and then when you can see that bridges have been burned, that there needs to be an alternative route, and I think Lee Griffiths probably only has himself to blame for how his Celtic career petered out. I think it could have been so much different. I think a very naturally talented boy, and I think maybe he'll come to rue the fact that he didn't fully appreciate the opportunity that he had. I think you can only wish him well now at Falkirk and hope that it works for him, and that the final years of his career are positive, and that he maybe lives up to a standard that he set for himself previously.
Yeah. One guy who did realise his talent and was well aware of how far he could go is Kieran Tierney. There's real talk now, this interest won't go away. They've thrown Barcelona into the mix and Real Madrid as well, Ruffy, interested in Tierney. If he does move for a howitzer of a transfer fee, I think some Celtic fans are salivating at the prospect of getting a cut of it.
Well, I think that's the reason why players like Tierney go down to England. They want to showcase themselves and prove that they're right good players, and there is a stepping stone to that. I know Arsenal's a massive club to go to, but there are bigger clubs out there, and certainly he's done particularly well, and people notice that, and good luck to him. I think he's a model professional, and ever since he's come through the whole ranks at Celtic, and he deserves everything he can get.
Yeah, okay.
Did you say that Bobo Baldé went to Marbella for 3 weeks before he goes to Russia?
No, it's Bolingoli.
We're still back in that 2000 and bringing in the 2003 team now.
Rob Bolingoli, yeah. The Beatles are split up. I always say that to him when he's clueless at this game. Champions League fixtures coming up tonight and tomorrow. Wonder which one you're going to be watching. Ruffy thinks PSG will win it. I'm going for Liverpool. Ali, did we get your tip for the Champions League?
I think I said Man City.
Man City, okay, you've really stuck your neck out. Villarreal against Juventus, Chelsea against Lille, that's on the Tuesday, and then Wednesday it's Benfica against Ajax and Atletico Madrid against Manchester United. On the Tuesday, where's your money on this one, Ruffy?
I think at the end of the day it'll be the same 6 of 8 that will be in the final as usual, and the ones he showed up there.
I'm not a Chelsea fan. I know he won it last season, but it's not one of my favourite clubs.
Started off the season, we were all raving about them, and now we've moved to Man City. We sort of went off the boil a wee bit with Chelsea. We were talking them up, but they don't seem to be the main event just now, but that might be a good thing for them.
Yeah, do you think they can win it this year again?
Well, they've got the mentality got there, and I've always said that in Europe, that they can go away from home, and if they need a nothing each, they get a nothing each, because they just blow the pants out of you.
Yeah.
And then they win 1-0 at home, and they go through to the next round. I mean, that's what kind of team they are.
Yeah. Sometimes some of the players get so bored that they only have 7 touches of the ball. I just find this absolutely astounding that Romelu Lukaku only had 7 touches of the ball in a game. He's suffering from a lack of confidence, apparently. How much they cost? Over £90 million. Thomas Tuchel's been defending him.
It's sometimes like this with strikers. If they struggle a bit in self-confidence, if they struggle a little bit to find the space and to get involved against a good defensive side, it can be like this. And this is of course not what we want, and of course not what Romelu wants. But it's also not like it's not the time to laugh about him and make jokes about him.
Well, at the end of the day, he's big enough and man enough to take people laughing at him and making jokes about him. He's getting well paid to try and score goals, and plenty of them. My personal opinion is I don't think he's happy at Chelsea. I don't think he really wanted to go there in the first place.
Well, we've had a few hints about that,
yeah,
and in terms of what he said and stuff, but he doesn't look like a happy player. He doesn't look settled. He doesn't look comfortable. I don't think it's worked at all. I think when you consider the investment that's been made in him, I don't think you would see that you've had a good return from it at all.
Yeah, strange one, Ruffy. 7 touches in a game. I mean, the game's, by the way, the game has changed so much, because I'm sure in your day, Ruffy, there were certain players who only ever got 7 touches of the ball in the match, but now everything is analysed. You've got the monitor on, which tells you how far you've run, the zones that you've been in.
Energy levels.
Yeah, energy levels. They can just narrow everything down.
Mm-hmm. I find that hard to believe in 90 minutes. Did he get 90 minutes for these 7 touches?
Yeah.
I find that hard to believe that a player in that position wouldn't be making himself available to bring himself into the game. You see strikers, if they're not getting a touch of the ball, they go out of their way to come to the halfway line.
Yeah.
You know, they go out of their depth just to say, give me it, you know. And
maybe it's not his fault as well, Ruffy. Maybe it's the service as well going in. You know, I don't think it's as simple as just Romelu Lukaku, let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
The style of play that Chelsea are playing, the way they're going about it, the balls they're playing in, you know, him being marked, there's all sorts of permutations that you could throw up in his defence, but 7 touches is not good for a player who's of you know.
yeah, I would agree with that. You know, I would think if you're the player themselves, as I just said there, I'd be trying to get the ball as much as I could. I would go out wide. So if I wasn't to get it in the middle, I'd go out wide and make sure somebody gave me it.
Yeah. On this day in 1991, Ruffy, you love this, don't you?
91.
You love these things. On this day in 1991, someone that you played with shocked the footballing world in England when he decided to call it quits. Do you?
91.
1991. Shocked
Is there
the
a
football
reason
world.
why he decided to
There
call
was a reason at the time. I think a lot of people were well aware of it. So, Ruffy, can
He's
you?
Scottish?
He's Scottish, yeah.
Kenneth Dalglish leaving
Yeah.
Liverpool.
God, your voice is going a
know.
high pitch, kind of a.
Oh, it's
you know,
the wee hand at the
Yeah.
back goes, Kenlin.
Has Ali got a really long hand? Yeah.
Dalglish,
1991, he decided to resign from Liverpool. And look at the stats from Dalglish. You know, he was just incredible. 3 Football League First Divisions, 2 FA Cups, 1 English League Cup, 1 Football League Super Cup, 4 Charity Shields as well. That's him as the manager of Liverpool. He was a special man, of course. Let's not forget also that Kenny scored in securing one of those league titles as a manager, as a player manager at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. But I thought he was a good manager. I think Kenny, you know, maybe didn't cover himself in glory with the Luis Suarez, which eventually prompted the changes at Liverpool. But when he resigned the first time around, Ali, I'll never forget it because I witnessed possibly one of the most bizarre Merseyside derbies when it ended 4-4. It was incredible. I mean, of course, Kenny, I think the pressure of Hillsborough and, you know, just personally the effect that had on him, I think it had a major effect on him getting to that decision all those years ago.
Huge. And I remember in one of the documentaries, his wife talking about that and just trying to explain, you know, the emotional impact that it had, and obviously going to every funeral and wanting to be present for the community and the figurehead of a club that had gone through that kind of tragedy, and then coming home and still working around it. I think the human toll that it takes and the emotional toll, I don't think there's any doubt. I think it would have definitely played a part in that call.
Yeah, because I mean, his manager had some team, Ruffy. They were banned from European football for a period of time, but there's no doubt in my mind with him as a manager they would have won the Champions League at some point, because some of the players that he brought through, you know, and signed as well, were incredible.
No, I've said this on numerous occasions. When you're in a top club like that, you need a manager who's in charge that gets the respect whenever he just opens his mouth and says whatever, whether you agree with it or not. He's done enough in the game, and I'm sure the players round about him. There were a lot of the players who got round about him were his pals. You know what I mean. People he was very close to, you know, through the football and whatever. And I think you get a large input in that, you know, in the success you get, because you're all going in the right direction. You've not got somebody going in another direction, and I think that's what kind of player he brought to Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely. Top drawer. I remember Liverpool spanked Nottingham Forest, I think 5-1. And Tom Finney was in the crowd saying it was one of the most complete performances he'd ever seen by a football team, and Kenny was the gaffer then. Anyway, just looking back on history, I thought it was well worthy of mentioning it to you guys. Our journalist Cheryl threw a wee question in today. Can you name the only Italian to win an English Premier League medal? There's been a few who've played but maybe haven't got enough appearances to be worthy of a medal, but there's one who's apparently the only Italian to have played in the English Premier League and won the English Premier League. It's such a good call, and it's in the last 10 years is the name we're looking for. So if you limit it down to maybe 3 or 4 clubs, Ruffy, that potentially there's only one player. I wonder if you can come up with that name. It's
Chelsea player.
it's not a Chelsea player, so that rules them out. That's a good shout. So I mean, you're looking at what, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, Man City. So
No,
it's
not jumping out now.
it's not jumping out at you. Okay, well, I narrow it down.
Yes.
It's a Man City player.
Italian.
Yeah. There you are.
I know it.
Ali is on it because our producers put it on the screen, but it's amazing. But Mario Balotelli, why always me?
Never have.
Would you have got that?
No.
No,
No?
I wouldn't have got that either.
It's a tough one. Hugh Scott was on it
We
right
didn't
away.
actually forget that he was at Man City.
Yeah, Errol Campbell thought it was Zola or Vialli.
Vialli was the one that I was.
Well, Zola would have been a
doing
good shout, but I
when you
think
said-
I think he managed to get to the. I think it was with Chelsea. They didn't eventually get the league, but it's such a good shout. Well done, Kevin Kane as well. There's so many people.
They're sharper than you and
Yeah.
I.
Although John Curl says Balotelli is Sicilian. Well, we're not splitting hairs on this. He did play for Italy.
This is a political
I
programme.
know. The programme is just mental today, isn't it? You know, we're getting into birthplace and politics, and somebody didn't want us to talk about the war potentially between Russia and Ukraine. It has impacts on sport as well. It'll be interesting to see if they do indeed deny Russia any chance of Champions League in the future as a final. These things all require an opinion. You get it on the programme. Thanks to so many people who are downloading our app. We're getting thousands and thousands of people joining in and downloading the PLZ Soccer app. You not only will get the notification of when it's live, you can watch the programme live, and you can also get all the latest breaking news stories in football in the UK and in Europe and globally as well. So over and above that, all you have to do is download the PLZ Soccer app. And if you want to join the football family on a regular basis, we're now exclusively on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, so we hope you can join us for that. Ruffy, I don't know about you, but I was listening. The studio at times the studio is soundproof, but you can still hear sometimes the rain battering off a window, and I'm wondering if Firhill, which at the moment could be, we've heard early indications that it could be selected as an Olympic swimming pool. So
Much to get for that.
he's obsessed by money, isn't he? But it is. It's not looking good, your place, is it?
No, our groundsman has been working overtime. I think over the weekend the weather was a bit better, and every time there's 2 or 3 days of hope, there's always one day then it really comes down, and it's just evident. Dunfermline's game was cancelled off at Dunfermline, so I think everybody's suffering. We are suffering a wee bit because we've got 2 games on it with Queen's Park, but well done to the groundsman if he gets it up. We'll put covers down in all the places that are the worst hit. So, but any downpour of rain for 2 or 3 hours is just perilous.
Yeah, absolutely. There you are. Okay, will I announce who's on tomorrow's show, Ruffy? Is it too early to go with
He
it?
hasn't phoned me yet to pick him up at the train station.
No.
Yet, no,
So we don't know if he's making it or not.
No.
Right, okay. He's bound to get. Listen, unless his injury is still there, he's bound to get a game tonight, isn't he?
Is it today, the game tonight?
Dundee against St Mirren tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But
So it won't be on tomorrow.
No.
No. Friday. Might be
Yeah,
lucky
if he
enough.
phones, yep.
Yep. Okay. Charlie might be with us on Friday, give or take the train times and whether Ruffy can catch him at Dundee. So fingers crossed. But tomorrow on the programme, you can join us. Tam McManus will be here. Ruffy, and we'll be giving you no shortage of opinion. Alison, at the moment, delighted she could join us in the studio after a rough week. She is now going to put her fake moustache on. she's now going to put her Groucho Marx glasses on and her Harpo Max swing, and she's heading home again with bobber boots and a duffel coat and a parka.
Yeah, just let me know when you're leaving and I'll catch up with you.
Yeah, just leave on your own. You leave on your own, Ali. It's always good for us just to extend our stay on this programme. Thanks to Alison McConnell from Ruffy and myself, Peter Martin. Thanks to you for watching.